Mahalo everyone, and welcome to another deck video here on the Jolly Scarecrows channel, and you're with me, Joe, and today I'm presenting one of my concept decks, which essentially was, I was given a brief, put pumpkins into a Yu-Gi-Oh deck and make it work, and I think I have with this quite entertaining 60 card zombie stroke fairy tale deck. So I try to basically think about, I was given really the Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts, but when searching up Pumpkin cards, aside from Natura Pumpkin, there is also Pumpkin Carriage. Pumpkin Carriage works with the kind of fairy tale archetypes and Golden Castle of Stromberg, and I was like, well, here I've got Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts, the King of the Zombies, and I've got a card here that protects a field spell, the Golden Castle of Stromberg, which is both an amazing field spell. You can summon a monster and use its effects. Every turn, when your opponent's monsters attack, you get to destroy it and inflict damage, so essentially they can't attack. But to keep this cost up, you have to banish 10 cards every single turn from the top of your deck. And it got me thinking, zombies, banishing monsters face down. There's only one real option for the deck. It's got to be Necroface, right? So Necroface is one of the very few cards that allow you to recycle face down banished monsters. So when it's normal summon, to shuffle all banished cards back into the deck, including your opponent's, and it gains 100 attack for each. Plus, when it's banished, you get to banish more. 5 cards, each player, that is, from the top of their deck. But that's kind of more of a side effect to what this kind of general playstyle is. The idea, or at least the high concept of this, is essentially you protect your Golden Castle of Stromberg with your Pumpkin Carriage. You use the various zombie cards in the deck, and we'll get into those, not Metaverse, to essentially prevent your opponent from playing, and ideally, to fit the theme of the deck, even though it rarely happens this way, you want a Pumpkin King of Ghosts and the Castle of Dark Illusions boosting it. And your opponent can't do anything, because they can't attack over it as they normally would, because the Golden Castle is there. Your deck goes down, and whack, you bring out the Necroface, and your deck comes back up, and by the time your 60 card deck is returned, you've hopefully built up the Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts, so much that it can run over everything. So yeah, that is the high concept level of the deck. Quite often you don't really go for the Pumpkin King of Ghosts, or at least, you know, that will facilitate some of the plays, and we'll get into what those are. I feel almost like this deck is one I should go through one at a time. So your starting plays, let's see, what were you going to see in your opening hand? Really, you are going to either want to play the Golden Castle of Stromberg. So we're running obviously 3 of those, 2 of the Searcher, Guilty the Phantom Bird, and obviously we've got a Terraforming, a Metaverse, and a Set Rotation. So there's a decent chance you'll be able to start with Golden Castle, even though this is a 60 card deck. Plus we're playing triple Pot of Extravagance, triple Pot of Desires, and triple Allure of Darkness, because this is about big banish. Big banish, banish as much of your deck as you can. And it almost works better for it. With that play, so the Golden Castle, you can use its effects, special summon a monster that lists it from the deck. So you can bring out the Princess Sign. The Princess Sign lets you play the Pumpkin Carriage and equip it also with the Glass Slippers. And this is a kind of a nominal almost bit of play, but with those 3, your Princess can attack directly, and then you can pass those slippers onto your opponent's monster, and it stops them from attacking and makes them lose attack. So that's, you know, that's decent enough. There's not really too much you can do with a pair of them. You sometimes end up fobbing those off to an IP Masquerade or something like that. The other plays, obviously, you can begin with. You have running 3 Solitaire and 3 Unizombie, and then you can start milling off some of your zombie cards. So we're running 2 Mizukis, a Gozuki, the Gizmek, So this gives Meg banish 8 cards even when it's in the graveyard from your top of your deck to special summon it, and so you can really get some key plays going. Doom King, obviously this card works well with field spells, and the whole deck is about protecting field spells. So and has zombies in it. So Doom King's obviously absolutely fantastic. Plus it comes with a negate. If you need to destroy a card your opponent controls, we're running 1 copy of Hextrude, so you can normal summon it without tributing if you have Golden Castle on the field, or you can just play it straight from the deck if you've got Golden Castle on the field. Allows you to target a card on the field, destroy it, and it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters when it does that. And when it destroys a monster, it pumps it up by 400 attack. And I quite like that thematically with the Pumpkin, the King of Ghosts. We've got Giant Rex in there. Essentially, this is just for when it gets banished. Sometimes that'll happen, and then it can special summon itself back, and is useful for making extra deck plays. We're running 3 copies of Psychic Wheelider, which is a horrible name. But yeah, quite often you'll have a 3-star on the field. It will. You've got Unizombie, which is quite often there, or Pumpkin Carriage. So you're constantly bringing one of those 2 monsters out. So the opportunity to play Wielder is really common, and that lets you obviously. It's a tuner, so it lets you go into the kind of half of the extra deck that's synchro monsters. And yeah, Glow Up Bloom. The only target for Glow Up Bloom, incidentally, is the Pumpkin King of Ghosts. We are running 1 copy of Zombie World, just in case that's either your Golden Castle gets destroyed, or you, I don't know, play Monarchs. Or I don't know. There's some certain scenarios where if you're playing something with an incredible archetype focus and they need it to be a beast warrior, if it's something like that, you play Zombie World, and that can kind of cripple some strategies. So it's nice having that in there. We're running obviously a lot of field spell searches, so you can often have a Zombie World in reserve if you need it. Yeah, that's cool. We're running 1 copy of Pump Princess, so this is like the reverse of the Pumpkin King of Ghosts, and kind of just really fits the theme. You probably wouldn't be playing this if you were trying to make a full-on zombified fairy tale deck. Soul Absorption is in here. What an entertaining card this is. If a card is banished, gain 500 life points for each. You can see how that can be entertaining. Golden Castle. 10, you must banish 10 cards every turn. That's 5,000 life points per turn in pure gain. So that can work out really well. And if you end up getting the loops off, you can just put yourself kind of unassailably out of reach to be OTK'd, and that's quite a nice position. Obviously, we've got Eater of Millions in here, so this lets you banish 5 cards from various places, including the extra deck face down. Gains 100 attack for each banished thing, and it obviously can banish a monster that it battles with. This is a really kind of a strong way of getting over annoying monsters. What else is there to say? Obviously, I mentioned Mizuki and Gozuki. They're obviously ways of getting zombie monsters back from the graveyard. You'll often be doing things with maybe Pumpkin or Doom King to do with those. Golden Sark is in here. You can often you'll be wanting to pick out the Necroface. The one thing this deck doesn't really have is a way of searching Necroface, except for the Golden Sark. You can send it to the graveyard a lot, but it doesn't actually have any. I'm not running like Book of Life or Monster Reborn. Perhaps they should be. Perhaps they should be maybe instead of like a Glass Slippers or Soul Absorption, and that would maybe facilitate bringing Necroface back out, but quite often they'll get banished anyway. So it is an interesting one to consider, but then you have to also think that if you add in things like Book of Life, things like that, often they're just going to get banished. So it's often much better just to kind of keep your Necroface away with Golden Sark. But you can do other kind of nonsense things, like get Giant Rex, and then that'll get you a 4-star on the field to start your plays. Mystic Mind's in here. Yeah, if you don't want to, say you can run Book of Life or Monster Reborn or something, rather than the Evil Mind. But if we're running all this field spell stuff, we might as well have it in there, just in case. Yeah, and I think that's all for the main deck. Onto the extra deck. This is very much an opportunity to be creative, really. You could do all sorts of things with this, but I'll try and go through the logic of why I've made these decisions. So we'll start with, so Link Revo, obviously it works well with getting Glow Up Bloom into the grave if it's there. Sometimes, obviously you'd probably rather have Eater of Millions than Link Revo, so it's mostly used to facilitate Glow Up Bloom going to the grave. IP Masquerena, fairly standard, wonderful card, and we're pairing that with quite a few, we're pairing it with 2 Topologics. Zero Boros and Trisbana and the Underworld Goddess. So you can nick your opponent's monster, or you can anticipate them special summoning a whole bunch of stuff, and you can prevent them from summoning a whole bunch of extra deck monsters, or if they do special summon something to it, then you can whack them out. Plus 200 attack for each banished card. This thing often reaches 15,000 attack. I attacked over, I think you might see in the clip, attacked over an 8,000 attack King of the Skull Servants for game. It had more than 16,000 attack. It's ridiculous. But yeah, cool card, and obviously it also has a field wipe just in case that's needed. Access Code Talker is obviously a brilliant card, and so yeah, that's pretty much the Link side of things. We're running obviously Unizombie, Glow Up Bloom, and Psychic Wielder, so obviously the extra deck is quite important. Bryonic, sometimes you want some of the zombies in the grave, so it's good to have those, and you can bounce stuff. Dawn Dragster against the anti-spell. Shooting Riser can get stuck into the grave, and then you can synchro summon something like a Black Rose on your opponent's turn if you want. Black Rose is interesting because you can get back Pumpkin Carriage, because it's a plant type. Who'd have thought that, eh? Who would have thought that? You can basically, you can get it back, you can banish it to essentially make a defense position monster attack 0. It rarely comes up, but I just quite like the fact that there is a plant in here, and it's not the pumpkin, it's the Pumpkin Carriage. I know, I didn't make the rules. We've got some, obviously, Cyframe Lord Omega, Clearwing Synchro Dragon, and Chaos Ruler. I think they're fairly self-explanatory, really strong kind of boss synchros. Chaos Ruler obviously works especially well in this deck because there's quite a few darks, and you're going to be wanting to excavate and send monsters to the grave quite a lot to facilitate some of the plays when they banish themselves and give everything else attack. It's pretty easy to play this Time Lord as well. Basically, all you need is Golden Castle, Psychic Wielder in hand. Golden Castle will let you fetch the Princess, Princess will let you fetch the Pumpkin Carriage will let you fetch the Wielder. You can go bang straight into the Time Lord, and then you're in a pretty good position in terms of being able to defend your situation. And even though this is kind of a meme deck, it is actually can be pretty effective. Obviously, there's not really running many hand traps and things like that. But honestly, playtesting this compared to the Vampire deck, which you might have seen on the channel the week before, this was way more effective. Even though it's not running hand traps, hard to think why. I think just the raw power that it can gain from the graveyard, and the way it can knock stuff over with Zero Boros, or even the Necroface when it gets pumped up, is pretty entertaining. And you can often, it's just things like the Gizmex, the Eater of Millions, so you're often just from nowhere special summoning a whole bunch of monsters, so it's really easy to make a dominating field presence, which in the kind of semi-casual area where this deck operates, it's pretty nice. Right, I think I've covered pretty much every card in the deck, or at least most of the important ones. If you have any questions, let me know. There's definitely room to make changes to the strategy or improve it. One card I'm searching for is a way to return my own Necroface to the hand, preferably something in the extra deck, because what I'd quite like to do is basically make the deck like self-sufficient almost, where you can be banishing cards to keep Golden Castle in play, and then you can play the Necroface to bring them all back, and then you can put the Necroface back in your hand, ready for when your deck depletes itself again. And it's more kind of thematically that I'd like that alongside the Pumpkin, just to keep it kind of gradually gaining over time alongside our Hextrude, pointing at it, being like, you grow. I think that'd be really entertaining, but I haven't yet found, obviously Bryonic targets cards your opponent controls, and actually a lot of bounce cards target cards your opponent controls. I didn't realise this until I tried to research for a card that could do this. Hieratic Seal, the Dragon Link 2 can do it, but in order to do that I've got to play 2 dragons, and even though I've got them, it's really unlikely that I'm going to be able to keep that up, but it's an option. I'm sure there'll be a solution in there somewhere, and if anyone helps me find it, I'll be very grateful. But with that, I'll end it there. I hope you've enjoyed this Halloween series. Yeah, we've got 5 decks out there, and I think we're going to move on to something a bit more festive, maybe a Thanksgiving theme, and then we'll go into our Christmas themed decks, which we really love to do. And I will probably throw in a couple of the Abyss Actor decks, and maybe the Zushin deck as well. That has been affected and should be on the channel soon, the part 3. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Sign out.